Right now, the National Weather Desk, deadly flooding. We have team coverage across the flood zones as rushing water destroys homes and communities.
People have lost everything.
We were swimming, trying to get through the water.
Polar plunge. Dangerous cold moves into the nation's midsection with wind chills dropping more than 30 degrees below zero.
It's deck, and we're expecting some bone-chilling temperatures here.
As the snow piles up in the Cascades, we'll show you how avalanche control experts work to keep mountains safe.
That sugary appearance, we don't want that.
Do you know why it seems so bright after a fresh snowfall?
Well, it's actually because of a property called albedo.
And a closer look at the hidden figures of meteorology.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Search and rescue efforts will continue today in Kentucky following last weekend's devastating floods across a number of states. At least 14 people have died, with 12 of those in Kentucky swift water boat teams. And the Kentucky National Guard have already made over 1,000 water rescues. The governor called it one of the most significant natural disasters he's seen in his lifetime. He said many of the deaths come from people just trying to drive through standing or even running water. President Trump has approved the governor's request for a federal disaster declaration at this point. And this is what members of a church in Pikeville, Kentucky saw Sunday morning. Look at this, water completely surrounding the building. And it wasn't just the church here. A drone flew over Pikeville on Sunday, and you can see clearly how much water is flooding that community. There were at least 50 rescues just in this one town alone. And we have team coverage this morning from some of the other hard-hit regions in Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia. We start with Anna Saunders in Logan County, West Virginia.
People have lost everything, their homes, their cars, and their businesses.
Yeah, it's the vilest.
Herschel Salmon's helping his neighbors at the Mount Gay Apartments dig the mud and debris out of their homes after they went underwater on Saturday night.
I have not found no word yet that could describe it.
We had a crew there on Saturday night when the water was coming into the first floor apartments and residents were evacuating to higher ground. Now what's left, a ruined first floor. Nearby on Enterprise Drive, businesses are also cleaning out, like Logan Physical Therapy that took on feet of water in their fifth flood since opening in the 90s. Logan first responders say this was the worst flood they've seen.
Just so many people suffering from this high water, businesses. It's just heartbreaking.
The best estimate that we got was roughly 4.3 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. We responded to over 1,200 calls for service that came in through not only 911 lines, but administrative lines.
Sheriff Boyd says over the past few days, first responders and rescue teams have been a big help.
We had swiftwater rescue teams that came from a far away to come and help us, and they were able to do roughly 280 rescues of people.
They are within, I think it was 6 inches of touching the ceiling inside of the building. We probably have about a foot of mud inside of it. It's inside, it's total loss.
As of right now, we have no people unaccounted for.
You can see most of the houses completely submerged underwater along with some of these vehicles. But parts of Concord Drive were also submerged after heavy rain pummeled into the area here in Clarksville. And in some cases, water rushed into these homes so fast that residents didn't realize it until it was too late. Take a listen.
Everyone was just panicking. I mean, we were swimming, trying to get through the water, trying to save our cars. We were coming together to help each other.
When I came, the water was like above my knee. By the time I left, it was all the way to my waist.
Floodwaters could take days to recede, and with the crest at the Cumberland River, officials urge residents to turn around. Do not drown. The Cumberland River in Clarksville crested early Monday morning around 6 a.m., nearly 51 feet, leaving some roads in the area impassable, but nothing like the 2010 flood where it was crested at 61 feet.
So what were the weather conditions that came together to cause that catastrophic flooding? Meteorologist Kit Alexander helps us better understand what happened.
The southern Appalachians was rocked by flooding yet again. This time, one of the hardest hit areas was along the Virginia-Kentucky line. Let's just briefly discuss some of the factors that led up to the most recent flooding event. First of all, take a look at this rainfall map. The red colors are indicating 3 inches plus of rainfall. Just incredible. Satellite and radar indicated 1 inch per hour rain rates at times. Another factor that played a role in the flooding is the terrain itself. The mountainous terrain is notorious for enhancing runoff, which then drains into those low-lying areas. In Richlands, Virginia, 51 people were stranded at one point due to high waters. Combine this with the rise in creeks and rivers, inadequate drainage, the soil that was already saturated, and this was absolutely just a dangerous combo.
The next round of winter weather will bring more snow and bitter cold to large sections of the country. More than 55 million people are under a winter storm warning or even winter weather alert stretching from Kansas to the East Coast. Unfortunately, that includes many of the areas that flooded just last week. And it's already snowing, though, in Kansas City. As the system moves east, it will bring snow across Tennessee and North Carolina through tomorrow. Meantime, 32 million people are facing extreme cold warnings this morning. A polar vortex is settling over the nation's midsection, with warnings stretching from the Canadian border all the way into central Texas, and those cold temperatures could stick around in some places through Thursday. And listen to some of these temperatures. It felt like 37 degrees below zero yesterday in Minneapolis. Des Moines was expecting wind chills of 27 below today and tomorrow morning. It will feel like 10 below in Fort Worth, Texas tonight, and up to 25 below in Oklahoma City. That's a city not used to, of course, this kind of cold. Tom Ferguson shows us how Oklahoma is getting ready.
Oklahoma City public works crews could be seen kicking it into high gear on Monday morning at the Salt Bar. While keeping main roadways open is a major concern, getting shelter for homeless individuals has been a top priority too.
This isn't just a normal cold snap, but really low temperatures for an extended period of time and extremely dangerous.
The city's urging drivers to give plows plenty of room on the roads and stay back. You'll also want to drive below the speed limit and keep your distance from other motorists. Public works officials are bringing out their beet juice brine mixture that's reserved for the coldest temperatures. Steps like that can help prevent some ice accumulation and make plowing easier, but you'll still want to be extra careful.
Whiteout conditions led to a multi-car crash on a section of New York State Thruway on Monday. All lanes were blocked in both directions of I-90, with 15 cars and 3 tractor trailers involved in this incident right here. At least one person was taken to the hospital in stable condition. The road was reopened just last night. And residents in central Alabama are in cleanup mode after a tornado bringing strong winds really ripped through that area. Several homes were damaged and trees came tumbling down, covering many properties. Valerie Bell spoke with residents about this harrowing experience.
We heard like a really loud sound coming through.
Tammy Everett describes the moment this pine tree came crashing down.
It's really hard to explain. I felt like I actually was having an anxiety attack, called the neighbors to see if they were okay. They came, but when you're rounding the corner and a limb's flying through the house, it's kind of startling.
Despite the shock, Everett expressed gratitude that no one was injured.
It means everything. Materialistic things can be replaced, but just getting out with our lives was awesome.
Well, Mount Washington was not the place to celebrate President's Day yesterday. The New Hampshire mountain is known for having the worst weather in the world. Yesterday had a wind gust of 161 miles per hour. That's the strongest there in 6 years. Sustained winds, though, throughout that day were between 125 and 135 miles per hour. The highest wind speed ever measured there was 234 miles per hour. That was back in 1934. And that right there was the sound of thunder captured by a Ring camera in Massachusetts on Sunday. While most thunder is loud, that thunder sounded louder than usual due to a temperature inversion, which refracted the thunder sound waves going back towards the ground. And for the latest weather news and videos, search the National Weather Desk on social media. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, snow in the mountains of Washington State starting to pile up. Look at how officials are watching the area for the threat of avalanches, and we'll help you better understand the different types of winter precipitation.
I'm meteorologist Emily Santom. Highs today in the northeast. On the colder side, we're looking at teens in single digits across the north, 9 degrees for Montreal. Heading down to southern New England, even New Jersey, we're looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 20s in low 30s for today. Mostly a sunny to partly sunny day for New England. We are looking at some lake effect snow showers over in Syracuse, where temperatures are only hanging out in the single digits in low teens. As we head overnight, expect clearing and temperatures on the colder side.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We start out your Tuesday breezy. We'll see high pressure coming by. It means we'll be dry, but our temperatures will be on the chilly side, struggling to get above freezing. But our next storm system does approach as we get into Wednesday, likely bringing some snowfall from southern Maryland down through Virginia, anywhere from central Maryland northward. Likely not to get much from that system, but we're looking at temperatures getting colder, likely getting stuck below freezing for much of the region, going into Wednesday even colder.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Afternoon highs today a little bit below average for the northern part of our area, close to that freezing mark or just above that 30-degree mark in the low 40s. Then we have the 50s closer to that I-20 corridor, and then around I-10 we're in the 60s, 70s in Florida, into the low 80s. We'll see a few showers start to encroach upon the western portion of the area, in addition to some snow showers in the northern part of the area. Rain-snow mix just north of I-20.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Snow in the mountains around Seattle is starting to pile up, normally peaking in March and April. Officials have started to monitor the area for avalanche threats. Meteorologist George Wallenberger gives us an inside look at this process.
Across the road from where Seattle learned to ski is where WashDOT learns to see. Signs the snowpack at Snoqualmie Pass could weaken, releasing an avalanche onto I-90.
We have 3 main avalanche areas west of Snoqualmie Pass, one on Denny Mountain, one on Granite Mountain, and the other that is just over the hill there from the Summit West ski area. We call the Shed Wall and Airplane Curve.
Accessing these 3 problem spots to investigate the avalanche risk is too difficult or dangerous on a daily basis. But on this nearby, flat, sheltered site, it's convenient to pierce.
There's an ice layer there.
Dig deep into.
That sugary appearance, we don't want that.
And weigh.
The amount of water that's in there.
Weak plains in the snowpack here are often also represented in the snowpack in the avalanche zones, as is the total snow load. Back in the winter of 1998-99, there was so much snow, it came to the top of this 15-foot tower. This is where a wind shield protects the precipitation gauge for accurate measurements. Predicting the size of a possible avalanche can determine if it would run onto the roadway or stop short.
In the next couple of weeks, our likelihood of doing avalanche control increases, particularly with new snow.
That control temporarily shutting down I-90 to detonate explosives to trigger the avalanche on our schedule, not Mother Nature's.
And when it comes to winter weather, there are several types, from sleet and snow to hail and also freezing rain. But why and how do we get so many different types of winter precipitation? Meteorologist Emily Santom explains.
Rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Those are the 4 types of winter precipitation we're working with. A little bit of background, water droplets form up in the clouds, and when they become too heavy for the clouds to retain, they're released directly into the cold air as air actually cools when it rises. Let's start off with rain. Goes through the cold air, melts when temperatures are above 32 degrees into a little bit little water droplets. Now, freezing rain and sleet, very similar, both starting in the cold air, then approach the warm air temperatures of 32, and then refreezes as it heads into cold air. For freezing rain, think of ice storms. Sleet, think about those little Dippin' Dot ice creams. Now, snow falls to temperatures that are very cold, below 32 degrees the entire time, falling as snowflakes. Here's a little bit more of a broad view. We have rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. We have our warm air to the left, cold air temperatures less than 32 degrees to the right. Now, freezing rain and sleet can be pretty dangerous. If you encounter any black ice, make sure you steer in your desired direction, do not brake, and take your foot off the accelerator to slow down.
Well, we all know snow makes a crunching sound when we step on it, but did you know that crunching sound gets louder as temperatures get colder? Meteorologist Sharon Ray explains.
When you step outside into some freshly fallen snow, you probably have heard that crunching sound that it makes. Well, that is because a layer of snow is composed of ice grains surrounded by air. When you step on that snow, you are compressing it and causing those grains to rub against each other, and that causes friction. That causes that crunching sound to happen. Now, the colder the temperatures, the louder the crunch, and that's because the grains have more friction when the snow is colder. As the snow gets to the melting point, however, those grains slide past each other much more smoothly, and there's less resistance, and they make less sound. So the fresher the snow, the louder the crunch.
Have you ever noticed that when you go outside just after it snows, things seem really bright? Or maybe when you're skiing, you notice that without those sunglasses, it's nearly impossible to see. This is because of a property called albedo. Meteorologist Ashley Cade explains.
So what exactly is albedo? Well, the definition of albedo is the percentage of light reflected by an object's surface. Let's take a look at what happens when we shine sunlight on snow versus grass. When we shine it on snow, a large portion of that sunlight is reflected back into the sky, while less of it is absorbed by the earth. And when we shine it on grass, the opposite happens. We see a larger portion of the sunlight being absorbed by the earth, and a smaller amount is reflected into the atmosphere. Different objects all have different albedos. Fresh snow has one of the highest at 95%. Older snow that gets a bit mushy and gray has a slightly smaller albedo, 90%. Asphalt has a very low albedo. It only reflects back 10% of light shined on it. Farmland reflects 17%, meadows reflect 30%, and forests typically reflect 20%. These percentages can all vary slightly depending on what exactly is on the ground, but in general, they stick close to these values. This is why snow is so bright and why it appears so light outside after snowfall. So next time you take a step outside after it snows, be sure to remember your sunglasses.
And in honor of Black History Month this week on our podcast, Off the Radar, Emily Gracie is speaking with retired broadcast meteorologist Alan Sills. Alan was recently elected the president of the American Meteorological Society. And in this week's episode, he discusses the importance of diversity in the field of meteorology. Here's a portion of you.
I first was able to go to AMS, American Meteorological Society conferences in the 1990s. Same thing with National Weather Association. And when you look at both of those organizations, even the latest data has maybe 2%, maybe 3% African Americans. So within the geosciences, we're underrepresented. Early in my career, in the 90s, it was so common for me to be the only African-American person or male at a conference. Slowly, the numbers are going up. It's slow, but they're going in the right direction.
Do you have any idea why?
I look at it as like a relay race. Early on in the race,